for part of my book tour of the Frum Entrepreneur book. This has been many years in the making, and it's really been a passion of mine. It's really exciting, one of those exciting things that's happened to me. Hodul Hashem Kitov Kili Olam Chazdo. I want to thank Subs for hosting this event. Thank you, Clifton, for arranging it. And Daniel, thank you for all your help in putting this together.
Daniel who?
Daniel Geffen. And of course, Saul Cave, a good friend of mine and fellow entrepreneur who co-founded Subs over here. So today I want to talk about what it means to be a Frum entrepreneur. What is a Frum entrepreneur? And what caused me to write the book. So a lot of great stuff, a lot of stuff we're going to talk about. So first of all, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for joining on Facebook Live. And thank you for joining me here in Subs. So first a little bit about myself. Currently I'm a co-founder of a new startup called Book Like a Boss. It's an all-in-one booking platform. It fills a great need in the market. Basically you have a lot of people that are looking for easy ways to take bookings. And you could create a Wix site, create a WordPress site, but we wanted to create something that was super easy. Within 10 minutes, you could create a website where you tell who you are, what packages you offer, and people can book your see your calendar, book you, and pay for it all in one place. The feedback so far, we're still in private beta, but actually we're not telling anybody about it except on my Facebook stream and to you guys. But we're currently in beta, so check it out, booklikeaboss.com. And you can check out my page, bookme.name/Nuchum. So you can check that out. I'm an author now, as you guys know, the book, The Frum Entrepreneur, and a podcaster, the same name, the Frum Entrepreneur podcast, where we interview Frum entrepreneurs from around the world, hearing their stories, being inspired. And of course, and the Frum Entrepreneur, along with the book and the podcast, I'm doing webinars, and educational courses, and we have a few more products, really some exciting stuff that's coming in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned to that because I guarantee you, you're going to be floored by it. I'm also the co-founder of a great organization called Nextdoor. Nextdoor is an organization that helps social entrepreneurs be successful in their organizations, either in starting one or in becoming more successful in their current organizations. We have accelerated programs, mentorships. I think we have close to 40 different mentors, both in Israel and the US. Top quality people to help you grow your organization, and that's also labor of love. Basically, I'm passionate about my fellow Jew, I'm passionate about entrepreneurship, and I'm passionate about helping people. So, first of all, I was listening to Rav Pesach Kronshir today, and he's just a phenomenal speaker, right? And I'm going to quote something he said in the name of Rav Biederman that he heard. Right? But we're going to tell it over like this. And the question is, why does a Frum entrepreneur drink coffee in the morning? Right? So first of all, it being Elul is a great time for introspection. It's a great time to change, to do things to come closer to Hashem. And one of the things that I've done recently that's had a tremendous impact on my life is I used to, and I'm going to tell you about one of my bad habits, but we all have our things, but I used to get up in the morning, right, and I'd have my cup of coffee, and then I'd check my emails, and then I'd check the stats on my sites, and then I would check this and do that. And then I go to shir every morning. I learn for an hour and a half in the mornings, and my Rebbe, we were going over some halachas. He says, really, from the time you wake up in the morning, the only thing you should be doing, the first thing you should be doing is connecting to Hashem. All right, first you daven, and then you worry about business. But you shouldn't be doing anything about business, having to do with business. You shouldn't be checking news, doing anything until you daven in the morning. And I'm like, oh, come on, this has been my habit for 20 years. You get up, try to get those things out of your head. See what happened overnight, especially when you're dealing internationally or dealing with America. You have programmers in India. You want to see where everything's at. But I took this upon myself. I said, no more. I'm not going to be going to the late minyan. And I'm going to not do anything besides learn. I'll have my cup of coffee. I need my cup of coffee in the morning, and I'm only going to have my coffee and learn before going to chakras. But a funny thing happened when I decided to change this habit, probably about 3 months ago, and that is I would get up in the morning, and I couldn't go back to sleep because I wanted to know what was going on, but I couldn't check what was going on because I had my phone off and I wouldn't check anything until I davened. So now I started going to a 7 o'clock minyan in the morning, which has been, instead of like an 8:45 minyan, which has been unbelievable because now I get up, I have my cup of coffee, I daven, I learn a little bit for about a half hour before shul, and then I go to shul and I daven, and I'm home by 8 o'clock, and now I have like an extra 2 hours of my day where I find myself even more focused. Right, but what does drinking coffee have to do with being an entrepreneur, a Frum entrepreneur? So the answer is, again, Rav Pesach Kron said this in the name of Rav Biederman, is that when you have a cup of, what's a cup of coffee? A cup of coffee is that you take bitter coffee beans, you sweeten it with sugar, you put in hot water, and then you put in cold milk. And you take this and you say, Shahakol nihiyeh b'dvaro. Everything is from God's creation. Right? So what does that mean? Right? Shahakol nihiyeh b'dvaro. He says, no matter how my day is as an entrepreneur, whether I'm going to have to make cold calls, whether I'm going to be in hot water, whether I'm going to have a bitter experience, or whether I'm going to have a sweet experience, everything is from Hashem. And that is what that's why a Frum entrepreneur drinks his cup of coffee in the morning. So I thought that was actually pretty fantastic. Great idea.
What happens if you have your coffee without milk?
We'll take questions at the end. So question, why did I write this book? So I wrote the book for two reasons, right? One is that in my business career over the last 20 some odd years, I've often dealt with people and with other Frum Jews a lot of times. And there was this attitude of, this is how business is done. And even if it went against the spirit of the Torah or it broke halacha outright, it was incredible how I'd see things happen. And people would just do things and they said in the name of business. And it just drove me nuts. I said, you know what? It's not true. It's not in the name of business. I said everything from a Jew, from an Orthodox Jew, from any Jew, right, is that everything begins and ends with the Torah, right? Everything has to do with the Torah. And so I wanted to, write a book that emphasizes that and shows that, you could be a Frum entrepreneur, you could be a successful entrepreneur, you could build a tremendous business, but your guiding principle still has to be that of the Torah. The other thing I wanted to do with this book was that I've been a consultant for about 10 years or so, and people will come up to me all the time asking me about this idea and about their business, and I'd love to help people, but the problem is it wasn't scalable. There's only one me and my time is very limited. So one thing I noticed after speaking to tens of entrepreneurs, if not hundreds of entrepreneurs over the years, is that 80% of what I was telling them was all the same thing. And I said, you know what, if I could put these thoughts and ideas down into a book, right? And then I can, then instead of saying, hey, okay, let's set up an appointment, talk to me, I'll say, hey, first read the book. You'll get 80% of what you need to know. Then we can laser focus on how I can be specific to help you. It just saves a lot of time. So these two ideas, being able to help people with fundamentals of starting a business, about how to take an idea and build a business, and how to do marketing, and how to hire the right people, and should you take a partner, should you not take a partner, how to raise money, how to raise money, who you should raise money from, all the things that happen in the course of starting a company. I wanted to be able to do that in this one book. And that's really what this book is about. And I'll just plug it again because that's what it's about. By the way, you can buy the book Frum Entrepreneur at frumentrepreneur.com/book, or you can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it at Feldheim. It's in bookstores all over the world. In London, I saw pictures. Australia, Canada, all over the U.S., and of course Israel. And it's really the feedback has been phenomenal. People really can relate to it, and it's like a breath of fresh air to people. And so I invite you to purchase a copy as well. You can also get it for your Kindle on Amazon. Anyway, so that's why I wrote the book. So why is a Frum entrepreneur different than all other entrepreneurs, right? What separates us? What makes us different? So I want to tell you an amazing story. And when I read this story, I started crying because to me, this story personifies what a Frum entrepreneur is, right? On August 14th, 2013, at 4:11 p.m., does anybody know what happened? Anybody? There was a huge blackout all over the East Coast at that time on that day. And it was a disaster. People lost their electricity for days, if not even weeks. But there was a certain area in New York that like half of Brooklyn got back electricity, but the other half didn't. Klein's Ice Cream, right, and their biggest competitor, Mahadran, they both were hit by this blackout. Now this was in the middle of the summer. This is August, right? This is middle of August. This is the highest time for selling ice cream of the year, right? And Klein's, and you have fridges, they had freezers, obviously, but they'd only last for about 24 hours or so, and then the ice cream started to melt, and they could lose millions of dollars in inventory. But what happened was incredible. Klein's electricity in that area came up, and Klein's ice cream was saved. And the owner of Klein's was approached by one of his workers, I think it was maybe his son, and he said, "Wow, it's incredible. Baruch Hashem, we have we're saved, and we have our freezers working again, and we're not going to lose our ice cream." He says, "But our biggest competitor, Mahadran, find out what's going on with them. See if they have the electricity back on." So they made some calls, some phone calls, and to check what's going on with Mahadran, right? Our biggest competitor, what's going on with their slayra, right? And the son came back to the father and said, "They don't have electricity. They're going to lose everything." He said, "Get them on the phone." And Klein's Ice Cream called Mahadran and says, "I hear you don't have electricity. I want you to know we have room in our freezer. We're already making room for your slayra. We're making room for your ice cream. We have ice cream trucks we're going to plug in for freezer, and we're going to move all of your ice cream over to our warehouse." And that's exactly what they did, and they saved their biggest competitor, Mahadran. They saved their business, and they saved millions of dollars. That, my friends, is a Frum entrepreneur. That's what it means to live by the Torah, to live by the guidelines of what it means to be a Frum Yid. We don't fear our competition. We're not scared of our competitors. Right? We understand that Parnasa comes from Hashem. We understand that the success of our companies come from Hashem. And when you have that feeling, when you have that knowledge, how can you let your fellow Jew, how can you let their business go under if you have a way to help them? And to me, it's just such an incredibly inspiring story that it gives me chills whenever I say it over. And the stories in the book because it just personifies what a Frum entrepreneur is. But can you imagine another company going out to save another company, the biggest competitor in the heat of the summer? They could have been the only ice cream in all the stores in the tri-state area. They could have sold out all the inventory and made more. They could have tripled the profits probably, but they didn't because they knew what was really important. So we could go over some of the obvious things, but I don't want to, and I go through a lot of this stuff in the book, but I don't want to spend too much time on all the obvious, but it is just worth mentioning, right? You should treat everybody how you want to be treated. Now this goes whether it's your business partners, your investors, but especially your employees, right? How you treat your employees. I was once speaking to a young woman who was working at a restaurant, and the employee embarrassed her and yelled at her in front of the customers. Embarrassing an employee well, even if you think you have the rights, even if she deserves it, even if she did something wrong, embarrassing another Yid, embarrassing an employee, how could you do such a thing? And it affected her so much. She quit the job and she couldn't handle it. And the Bush, anyway, this company ended up going under a couple months later. You can't embarrass somebody, which is like murder, which is like killing somebody, and expect not to be repercussions. All right, so we have to be very careful how we treat, especially our employees, right? But obviously our customers, how we treat our customers, besides that it's great marketing sense, it just makes sense to treat your customers well because they're your bread and butter, right? But still, you want to make sure that you're doing it because you really care about them. I'll tell you another story that just came to mind now. There was a carpet company, also in New York, and they had a customer that came into the store. And the customer said to them, "I'm looking for this specific type of carpet. Do you have it?" And he shows them the picture. He says, "You know what? I don't have it in stock. I could probably get it for you in a few weeks. But I want you to know there's another store a couple miles down, and I do believe they have it in stock. 1 second, let me call them for you." And this Frum Yid, he called this other store and said, "Do you have this carpet? Do you have it in stock?" They said, "Yes, we do." He says, "Okay." He didn't even tell them who he was. And he told the customer, he says, "Go down to this store, go speak to them, and go, and they have it in stock." And he said, Why would you do that? Why? You could have convinced us to buy another carpet. You could have said, we'll order it and we'll ship it to you in cut. Why are you sending us? He says, because I know my business comes from Hashem. I don't have to worry about making another sale. But I do have to worry that my customer, that you are going to get the best price and that you're going to get the product that you want when you want it. Paying workers on time is so important. People do work, they depend on the money. You don't know anybody's situation, right? But if someone does the work, you got to pay them on time. It's halacha, I believe it's deraisa. It says, yeah, it is deraisa. It says it in the Torah itself. Now you have to pay your workers on time. I know, I talk about it in my book, that I have, one of many stories. We had a decision to make on whether we we're going to pay our employees on time or something, but if we did, it was Erev Sukkot, and if we had paid our employees on time, we would have had no money left, or very little left. And if we didn't pay them on time, we'd be able to last a couple more months more. Now, sound business practice is you got to keep the company going, got to keep it afloat, and you'll explain to the workers that we can't pay you right now. I said no. I started this company. I want to follow the rules of the Torah. And I said we're going to pay everybody on time, and not only that we're going to pay everybody on time, but obviously we're not going to work on Kol Hamoed. We're not going to reach out to investors. We're not going to respond to emails. Total shutdown. But how can you do this? How can you know what's going to be? And I said we listen to Hashem. We're going to put our emunah in Hashem. We're going to follow what the Torah says, and we'll see what happens. 2 days after Sukkot, we're sitting in an office, me and the other executives in the company, and we're on the phone with a potential investor. The investor on this one phone call agrees to put in $500,000. Within 3 days after that, the money, with signing just like a one-pager, the cash was in the bank. Doing the right thing always pays dividends. Now, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be successful, right? Doesn't mean that just because you do the right thing, you're going to make millions of dollars. It's not true. We have to put in our proper styles. We have to put in our proper effort. But success is ultimately in Hashem's hands. Making a Kiddush Hashem is, of course, super important. I talk about that in the book. It's we have an opportunity when you're out in the business world, right? People look at you and they say, oh, this is a Frum Jew. How is this Frum Jew going to behave? How is this Frum Jew going to respond? Right? So you're representing God. You're representing the Torah. Right? We have so many opportunities to make a Kiddush Hashem, and we should look for it. It's not just about just behaving and of course, acting like I mentioned and doing business honestly. Of course, that goes without question, right? But we have to also look for opportunities. If somebody drops something, like if you're walking in a trade show and someone's booth falls, you can walk on by like 10 other people, or you can make a Kiddush Hashem by stopping what you're doing and going to help. Being Mekadosh Hashem's name, making Hashem's name holy in this world, what is greater than that? Right? And of course, not stealing, not tricking people, not lying, even if you think nobody's going to know about it, and even if you think that really it's common business practice, as Frum Jews we know that there is no stealing, there is no tricking, there is no lying. We have to be very careful on how we behave out in the world, because even if no one else knows, there's always someone that does know. So where does our parnasa come from, right? And a lot of times, and this is actually a question when it comes to being an entrepreneur and a business owner or someone that goes to work, right? An entrepreneur has much more of a challenge because many times we don't know where our money is going to come from. We don't know if a business deal is going to work out. We don't know if there's going to be enough money in the bank to pay ourselves at the end of the month, right? It's a lot of faith, right? Whereas someone that goes to work, he's in danger of thinking that his money comes from his boss. Right? He gets a paycheck every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks. The money gets wired directly to his bank, and he counts on it. He has a job. He has a contract. He's not worried about getting paid at the end of the month. Is he scared about getting his check? Is he scared on the day before the first, if his money's going to get in the bank? No, because he has a job and he knows that his employer he's been working for 10 years always pays on time. So he doesn't have that level necessarily of emunah on getting paid. But we have to keep in focus that our money does come from Hashem, and that our parnasa is tied to Kodesh Baruch Hu. But then it comes up this question, and this is one of the biggest questions that we have to deal with, and as a Frum entrepreneur, and it's a question that keeps that there's no real one right answer, but there is one answer I could give you, and that's a shtadlus versus emunah, right? The amount of effort is a formula. The amount of effort that you have to put into your work is directly related to how much faith you have that Hashem is going to make you successful. Okay? It's directly related. The higher the munah, more munah you have, the less hishtadlus, physical effort you're going to have to put in. Now, of course, it takes a lot of work, and we have to work on ourselves, and we have to increase our level of emunah. And I strongly suggest anybody out there, any of you guys, to read the book, The Garden of Emunah, that's Rav Lazer Brody translated, and in the words of Rav Shalom Arush Shlita, fantastic book on emunah, and it's a must-buy for everybody. But that question always comes into play: how much faith do you have? Right? Well, how will you make more money if you stay in the office for an extra hour and you make 10 more phone calls? Are you going to make more money that month? Or if you spent that hour learning Torah, or doing a chesed, or visiting your parents, or doing another mitzvah, right? Well, that adversity, is it going to be looked at in Shemayim and say, no, he should have worked that extra hour, he shouldn't have done that mitzvah, and therefore he's not going to make that as much this month? It's just not true, right? People think that you have to work 16-hour days, 20-hour days, you got to work 80-hour weeks in order to make a company successful. And it's not true. Of course, you have to put in proper shtadlus, and Hashem works al pi derech hateva. This world, right, was created to work al pi derech hateva, which means according to the natural way of things. We're not supposed to rely on miracles, and Hashem doesn't want you to do things that you have to rely on a miracle, right? Or that it should look miraculous. So the more shtadlus you do in a way that makes things look natural, the more chance you'll have of success without needing a miracle. I'll give you an example. Right? When you're creating a company, right, you want to create a company that has the potential to be huge, to make millions of dollars. Whether you will or not is not the point. But if you want to make millions of dollars, you're not going to be able to take shoelaces and go door to door and try to make $1 million. Because that's, even if you're working 10 hours a day, you're not going to make millions of dollars selling shoelaces door to door, right? It would be a miracle if you did. Maybe Daniel Geffen could do that. Actually, if anybody could, Daniel Geffen could, right? At danielgeffen.com. Right? But the truth is,
That was such a plug. Thank you.
but the truth is that if you're going to put in, if you got to create something that looks like it was a miracle. So if you're going to create something like a software company or a jewelry company or anything that you're doing, anything you're working on, right? It has to have that potential that al pi derech hateva it can make millions of dollars. And then with a lot of tefillah, right? Tefillah is key. It's like water to grass, right? Davening and asking Hashem to be successful. Right? Then you have a shot at being successful. So we discussed already about how many hours we put in. But I came across this article just a couple of days ago. And people that say that you have to work, 9 hours, 10 hours a day, especially if you're a startup, and you're not going to be successful unless you put in this time and you get employees. So I came across this article about this company called Tower Paddleboards, right? And Tower Paddleboards, they had an idea. The CEO had an idea. Crazy idea. He says, you know what? I'm going to create the 5-hour workday, right? He says everybody's going to get paid. Every employee in the company is going to get paid the same. The people who used to work from 8 till 5:30 to 6 p.m. are now going to work from 8 to 1. And at 1 o'clock, they could leave for the day. No questions asked, no guilt. And not only that, but I'm going to incentivize them. We're going to have a 5% share for everybody in the company that they're going to have a chance to make more money, right? So people look at me like you're crazy. You're losing 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day per employee. How can you be successful like that? And he decided he was going to do this test. He knew he was going to do it long term, but he told everybody he was doing it for a 3-month trial. Anyway, the results were astonishing, right? The results were he had a happier staff because everybody was happy. You worked hard from 8 to 1, and then from 1 o'clock you had the rest of your day off, right, to go to the beach, to go to whatever you want to do, right? There was increased creativity because they had to work. They had to try and figure out how can we make more money? How can we take care of our customers? And how can we do our business within a smaller time frame? So they had to become creative in using technology and increasing their work more efficiently, right, in order to do the same amount of work but in less time. And so that just increased creativity in the company, and there was less wasted time. Because they knew that from 8 to 1, they had to be on ball, and there was no, and that after when they were getting out, so there was no waste of time. People weren't playing on Facebook, they weren't, taking breaks all the time. Right? They realized that they were going to put in their all from 8 to 1. And what happened? They were named to the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies from 2 years in a row since they started this. Right? Annual revenues for 2015 were over 40% higher. Okay? And a 10-person team will generate $9 million in revenue this year. Okay? So you would think that, oh, you got to work 10 hours a day. Here's a company, it's one of the fastest growing companies in America, right? That makes their workers only work 5 hours a day, right? And the other half a day they could learn Torah if they were Jewish, right? But it just comes to show that just because, and there's a quote here, I'll read over, it says, when I tell people my team only works 5 hours a day, the response is always, that's nice, but it won't work for me. The 9 to 5 workday, or worse, 9 to 6, 9 to 7, right? It's so ingrained that it's hard to imagine anything else. Who made the rules that you have to work 9 to 5? Who came up with that? But everybody has heard, from the time I was born, right? You work 9 to 5. Get up in the morning, you work from 9 to 5. Who made that up? He says it's simply not true. But people are so, from the time they're born, they think that you go to school from 9 to 5, and then especially in the Jewish world, right? And then you go to college and you're in college from 9 to 5, and then you work from 9 to 5. That you have to do it in order to be successful, and it's just not true. And he also wrote a book on this topic, Stephen Arstow.
What's the company again?
The company's name is Tower Paddleboards. It's a great article. If you email me or message me, I'll send you a link to the article. Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to touch a little bit on what it means to be a Frum entrepreneur. Of course, I delved into this more in my book, and so I invite you to buy a copy of the book. But you have to understand that we as Jews, we answer to a different authority. We have a different set of guidelines. Right? The mazel, these stars, don't have an effect on us. Right? What does have an effect on us is how we behave, is how we follow the laws given by Hashem, how we spend our time, how we do the right things, what our focus is on, and with that, we'll be more successful. So I just want to end, I'm doing a webinar tomorrow night, a live webinar. Anybody here has heard of Only Simchas? Yes? Yes? Yeah? Okay. So Only Simchas, everybody wants to know how it got started. I'm interviewing the CMO of the company. He's been able to quadruple sales and been able to increase their traffic. They get millions of views a month. So Sean Littman is VP Sales and Marketing. We're going to do a webinar on the tricks that he's been doing, so you could check into that. And of course, you could buy a copy of my book. If you have any questions, you're able to ask me. I don't know if we're going to record it, but because it'd be too crazy. But if you have any questions, please ask on this video or ask in the email. I'll try to respond. And I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Please buy a copy of the book. I'm sure you will enjoy it. The feedback has been amazing. Again, you can go to frumentrepreneur.com. This is for the recorded audience, frumentrepreneur.com/book, or you can buy it on Amazon, or you could buy it on feldheim.com or mosaicapress.com. Mosaic is the publisher. Anyway, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed, and on to the book signing.